Okay, so I got my ticket. They're a little bit late this morning opening up. Traffic was bad, even in my Uber this morning. So I've got my ticket here. You can also get your little thing online. There's a movie they said going on down here by the boarding area, so I'm gonna go see that and check that out. So so the movie's it's outside, so but there is an inside area where they say you can go inside and board, but again, they're opening a little bit late this morning. So
They actually offer a shower on the way out, huh? Yeah, you got a little warm too.
Alright, so we're going on the boat. Morning. So this is the boat. It's going to take us over to Fort Sumter. So there's snacks up here. It says cash only. There's a head on board or a bathroom for you civilians. So it's about 0950 roughly. They're gonna scan your QR code on your phone, or if you have a paper ticket like I have, I got from the window, they'll scan that, and then you can get on board once they start boarding people.
Observation of Fort Sumter National Monument.
All right,
and
so
the surrounding environment.
we're getting underway.
To protect the sensitive ecosystem of the Charleston Harbor and to prevent its pollution, we ask you to please use the trash containers provided on the first and second decks. Remember, throwing any trash overboard is a violation of federal law.
I am joined with Ranger Rebecca and Ranger Summer, and then a couple other rangers out and about as well. We also do have a lovely volunteer, Mr. Kevin, over here to my right. We're all riding out with you guys this morning. So we have about a 35 minute ride out to Fort Sumter. Then you all will get an hour and 15 minutes out there, and of course that ride back. As we are heading out, I do encourage everyone to keep your eye on the water line, as some of you have already spotted that we have a couple of dolphins that live in this harbor. And because the water is really calm this morning, you do have a good chance of spotting one of them. So if you see anything break the water, it's a little shiny, it's most likely a dolphin. Now I'm going to be talking on the way out, kind of pointing out various points of interest, and then I'll be giving my little history talk. That way y'all have the whole hour and 15 minutes out there to explore. So if we were facing forward on the vessel and you look over here to your left-hand side about our 9 o'clock. If you don't know what direction that is, please find someone older than you and they'll explain that. But right behind this very large boat, you can see another large boat sitting against the skyline. That is the USS Yorktown, named after the one that was lost in the Battle of Midway during World War II. This one was active until the 1970s. Then it got buildings cannot be built taller than the tallest church steeples to help protect that skyline. So you can see that iconic church spires. And you see the skyline on many things around here, t-shirts, ornaments, so on and so forth. If you have not explored downtown Charleston, highly do recommend. There's a lot of things to do. And now going back over here to the left-hand side. We are passing a small island with a small fortification at the end of the island, and a lot of people get this island and the fort confused with Fort Sumter when they're looking out from downtown Charleston. And obviously, it's not Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter is even further out. You can see it against the skyline out there. What we are passing right now is called Chutes Folly Island. It is a shell of its former self. We're only looking maybe about 5% of the original island left. It used to span from here all the way across the harbor to that bright orange roof over there in Mount Pleasant. But changing the ship channel has caused mass erosion. Now, the small fort on this island is known as Castle Pinckney, and it is named after an author and signer of the United States Constitution here in South Carolina, Charles Cotesworth Pinckney. Now, this comes during George Washington's first term as president. He comes down here and realizes that if an enemy ship gets past the two other forts here in the harbor, there was nothing stopping them until they got to the battery here in downtown Charleston. Very concerning, so George Washington orders a last means of defense to be built, and you are looking at that result. Now, this is the second one. The first one got taken out by a hurricane, and this one was finished being constructed in 1809. It serves little to no role in any war. The most action it sees is during the Civil War, where it briefly serves as a Union prisoner of war camp after the First Battle of Manassas or Bull Run. After that, the fort is obsolete, no one wants it, and South Carolina's government has no idea what to do with it. So they actually auctioned the island and the fort off for $10 to the Sons of Confederate Veterans, who still currently own it to this day. So because it's privately owned, no one ever. And that sandbar makes people think Fort Sumter is a natural forming island. It is not. Fort Sumter is completely man-made. It is our artificial. That sandbar is relatively new, and that's thanks to dredging and hurricanes that did not exist during the time of the Civil War. It takes 15 years of enslaved individuals here in the Low Country throwing thousands of pounds of rock and granite over the sides of ships to create the foundation of Fort Sumter, on which we'll still be walking around today. From there, the work's not done. We need walls to have a fortification. Millions upon millions of bricks will be needed to construct the fort, and all those bricks are going to be handcrafted by enslaved individuals on local plantations. Then the bricks will be sent out there and assembled by skilled masonries. 90% of the brickwork at Fort Sumter is still original, and a lot of the bricks still do hold the fingerprints of the enslaved person who made it. T. Beauregard. His first orders: get Robert Anderson and his men to leave Fort Sumter by any means necessary. And I have mine. If we are not fated to meet in this life, may the Lord grant we meet in the next. The delegation of Confederate forces will leave, and an hour later, the first shot of the war is fired from Fort Johnson with a big mortar shell breaking head over Fort Sumter. You're gonna picture a big firework. That big firework signals to all the other Confederate positions in the harbor to now open fire, and next ensures a 34-hour bombardment of Fort Sumter, with Anderson and his men firing back. During this bombardment, though, a shot gets into Fort Sumter that catches the largest building on fire. That is already concerning enough, but that large building just also happened to hold the gunpowder. So Anderson orders all the men off the cannons. They hurry to put out this fire, and the Confederacy, seeing the smoke of the fire, and realize Anderson's not firing back now. I think he's ready to go. So another delegation is sent out there. They find Anderson, they give him the same rules, and this time he agrees. And he agrees to leave the following morning, April 14th. He does have one small request, though, before they hand the fort over to the Confederacy: that American flag. That one he raised 4 months before now has to come down in defeat, and he asks for a 100-gun salute as the flag is lowered, and he is granted it. They never do make it to the full 100, though. On gun 47, there's an explosion of some kind near one of the cannons, and that will instantly kill Union Private David Howe and mortally wound another, Edward Galloway. These two gentlemen are actually the first two killed of the war, complete accidents, because surprisingly no one was killed on either side during that bombardment. After that, though, Anderson does settle for a 50-gun salute. The flag is lowered, they leave, and now the war has officially started. Next ensures 4 bloody years of fighting. First 2 years here in the harbor, nothing happens. All the actions on land, Battle of Antietam, Battle of Shiloh, but since about 2 or 3 o'clock, you can make out a tiny lighthouse peeking above the skyline and the tree line out there. That is the Morris Island Lighthouse. If you've been anywhere near Folly Beach, you've already seen this lighthouse. So that's kind of where the real actions of the 54th Massachusetts did take place. So if you've ever seen the movie Glory, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Matthew Broderick, that would be right there. So then, thanks to the real actions of the 54th, the Union is able to capture Morris Island, and the Union will conduct their own bombardment of Fort Sumter. Now, this second bombardment of Fort Sumter does not last a couple of days or a couple of hours like that first one, but a year and a half with over 44,000 rounds being fired into Fort Sumter. 3 of those rounds are still lodged in one of the walls. Trapped in bondage, and know that you don't just stand on a bombed out fort here in the Charleston Harbor, but a very important piece of American history that we can still learn from even to this day. I welcome you all out to Fort Sumter. I'm getting off the mic and someone will be on here real soon with your all safety rules.
Approach the fort, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a reminder. There are no restrooms out at Fort Sumter. There are no restrooms. Now, this boat will stay docked the entire time of your visit out here, but this is a good opportunity that, we've got a few minutes, so if you have to use the restroom, I would go ahead and do that now. Again, there are no restrooms out at Fort Sumter. A corner will not work. Thank you.
It's like that gateway is not heavy.
And then getting it off is even harder.
So there's Charleston over there. The sandbar was not here. Like the rangers said earlier, over there towards that lighthouse. When I edit, I'll try to zoom in when I edit, but is where the movie Glory, the actual Glory battle actually happened over that way. Friends, welcome to Fort Sumter, the start of the American Civil War.
Hello, folks. We meet again. Welcome to Fort Sumter.
Thank you.
Don't miss the flag raising program, about 10 minutes up top.
Right, thank you.
Hey, you got a great camera. I was watching, you got some great videos.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome in, guys. We'd like to welcome to that flag right up top there. Follow Ranger Shelby right up those stairs.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's one of the cannons here, similar to Fort Monroe back home in Virginia. This is not too far from where I live in Virginia Beach, but Fort Monroe's in Hampton, Virginia, but kind of similar. Reminds me of that. Especially those big ones there, because Lincoln's cannon at Fort Monroe is more similar to those big giant ones there. Let's go up here. I'm gonna raise the ensign, basically the American flag, to salty dog sailors, and for morning colors. Battery Isaac Hooger.
onto the flag. Please do not be directly behind her. She will not see you, and she will knock you over. See that evil grin on her face? She knows. Take a giant step back. All right, same thing, people here on my left. I'm gonna hand it across, and then again, everyone take a giant step back. All right, there she is again. We fly the same size and configuration of that flag in the story, so 33 stars. However, this is a useless flag. Will proceed. Once you feel a tug, please let go. Please let go, please let go, please let go. Definitely my workout for the day. And there it is. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. For helping us to raise this. Again, literally, we would not do it without you. Please remember your old departure time and again.
All right, morning colors is over, the flag's up, and we're gonna walk around some. All right, so let's go down here. I think that's a mortar, a very big mortar, but looks like a mortar. And if it is, it's the biggest mortar I've ever seen. Usually they're small, stubby things. Let me see if I'm right or not. The columnade. In front of you stands a rifled and banded columnade cannon mounted as a mortar. So yeah, I'm right. Okay, cool. Yep, so it's the biggest mortar I've ever seen, because normally they're kind of short and stubby. Some cannon on the rails. They're probably original, looking at how it's deteriorated. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's original. I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. Those cannons down there, according to what the gentleman was saying, can fire a cannonball about 3.5 miles. So and this is the top of the fort, by the way. Mountain howitzer. Confederates used several field pieces like this 12-pounder mountain howitzer to defend against surprise landing by Union forces, 1865. Fort Moultrie.
Is something wrong with me? No, you didn't want to do it this morning either.
Major Robert Anderson assumed command of Union forces at Fort Moultrie in November 1860. On the eve of the Civil War, this Kentucky-born mayor was the son of a Revolutionary War defender of Charleston.
Yeah, I know, it's like following me. I can see it shadowed.
And the fort's over that way. Fort Moultrie's over that way.
Oh, it's just a long one.
You're very talented. The Rangers are super cool. So there's a museum here. We're going to go inside here, which is across here from where we are now at Fort Sumter, part of Charleston's harbor defense during the Civil War. While the struggle for Charleston Harbor centered on Fort Sumter, Fort Moultrie became a formidable obstacle for federal forces. Located on Sullivan's Island, its powerful guns joined in crossfire with Sumter And together, the two forts became Charleston's chief defenders from 1861 to 1865, although repeated federal land and sea forces hammered at them, they remained Confederate strongholds throughout the war. Both were eventually evacuated, but never surrendered. So here's a model of what the fort actually looked like. As you can see, it's a bit different from today. All the structures are ruined. Although the wall has been just destroyed. But Fort Sumter, April 1861. The fort covers 2.4 acres. Cannon from its 5 sides gave wide command of the harbor. The 4 shorter walls contained 2 tiers of arched gun rooms. More guns occupied the top level. The fort had 8 powder magazines, 2 on each level at both ends of the long wall. Fort Sumter was built for 135 guns and a garrison of 650 men. So that dude is General Thomas Sumter. The new fort in Charleston Harbor was named in honor of Thomas Sumter, Brigadier General commanding South Carolina militia during the Revolutionary War. As a state's distinguished partisan leader, he became known respectfully as the Gamecock of the Revolution. U.S. Army regulation hat worn by enlisted men of the Heavy Artillery, 1860. So that is a picture of Jefferson Davis there. He was the president of the Confederacy. So back home in Virginia, not too far from where I live in Virginia Beach, is Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. He was arrested and confined to Fort Monroe back home in Virginia. And Robert E. Lee, General Robert E. Lee, who commanded the rebel forces, actually used to be a Union lieutenant. And when Lee was a Union lieutenant back home in Virginia, he actually oversaw a lot of the construction of Fortress Monroe. So if you're ever in Hampton, Virginia, check that place out. If you go into the Casemates Museum, you can learn a lot more about that than what I can tell you, what I can remember. Of course, there's President Lincoln. And the unfinished Capitol building. And of course, there's the Alabama State House where Jefferson Davis got sworn in at. So here's some of the different kind of shot that they used. Basically cannonballs. Cannonballs, I think that's like grape shot, which is like anti-personnel. Imagine getting hit with that. So basically that picture there is of a bunch of monitor type vessels. One looks like a combination of Monitor and Merrimack right there, but that were firing on the Confederate held Fort Sumter. Colonel Alfred Rhett commanded Fort Sumter during the ironclad assault. Only 5 of more than 500 men defending the fort were injured in this confrontation with Rear Admiral DuPont's forces. another monitor type vessel bombarding the fort. USS Cook hit by a crossfire of 90 projectiles from Confederate guns on Fort Sumter and Sullivan's Island, sank off Morris Island on the morning of April 8th, 1863. Later, the Southerners recovered her guns and mounted one on Fort Sumter. So ain't that a be? Your ship gets destroyed and one of your guns from your ship gets, enemy grabs that and uses it to fight back. These walls were actually one time higher up. So the lady inside the gift shop was saying if we walk over this way, we'll see the original entrance to the fort. So time is limited because my alarm's gonna probably go off soon because we gotta be back to the vessel at 10:50. It's about almost 10:30 in the morning. And keep in mind, when it's time to go, the vessel will leave. Just so you know, the rangers let you know that when you get here, vessel will leave. So keep that in mind. But over here somewhere is the original entrance, he was saying. Somewhere over here. Yep, there's my alarm going off. Just so I'm reminded to get back to the vessel. But the original entrance is somewhere over here, she was saying. And again, keep in mind, the walls were originally much higher. And my guess is some of this structure I'm in right now is probably kind of like Fort Monroe and back home in Virginia, where they probably over time added on top of the Civil War stuff. Over time, so I've seen some pictures where it looks like there might have been some, you know, more modern stuff put here for different reasons. Like this is probably something to do with that, where we are now. If you can remember back to the model I showed you guys inside a couple of times, depending on how I edited the video. So let's walk down there and just get ready to get back on the boat to get back over to Charleston. Remember, you can get over here from Yorktown, where Yorktown is at Patriots Point, or get over here from where I did this morning in downtown Charleston, right by the aquarium. Rooms here, other than on the boat if you need it, but come down to the main courtyard, what's left of it, and there is a water fountain right there for filling your water bottles up if you need it. And again, keep in mind what I told you guys earlier, and the ranger told you guys earlier too. Rangers told you earlier, this was taller than what you see now. It's like one level, like it's been ripped apart, like about like that. Like this was taller. So keep that in mind. Look at the rubble. Confederate bombardment, 1861. See, look at that. And then Union shelling, 1863 to 65, reduced most of the fort to a rubble mound, documented in this 1865 photo bottom. So that one's from the top photo when it still looked like that. And then look at how much of the wall has been destroyed. And of course they obviously excavated and all that kind of stuff. So, and of course, this is what it, again, it looks like now. Of course, they added the museum, the gift shop, some other stuff over time. So, this answers my question about this here, that part there. Battery Huger was a massive concrete structure in the center of the parade ground that was completed in 1899 in response to the Spanish-American War. Changes to the battery Huger kept pace with modern technology, and Fort Sumter continued as part of the U.S. coastal defense system until the close of World War II. So yep, like I thought, kind of like similar to Fort Monroe, where they've over time added to what it was originally. So answers that question. So erected by the United States 1932 in memory of the garrison defending Fort Sumter during the bombardment April 12th through 14, 1861. Major Robert Anderson, 1st U.S. Artillery commanding. And then some names of people who were there. There's a powder magazine, what's left of it. And of course, gun houses, the casemates, I guess you'd call it, technically, I guess, and some of the cannon. Doesn't open, but you can see out that way there, out towards Charleston. Hey guys, don't forget, after this video, check out my other videos here on Jesco, but then after that, go to my other channel called Atlantic Ocean Watch, where I do affordable watch reviews. Atlantic Ocean Watch on YouTube, my main YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the video description. Thank you for watching.
So you saw how it looked? You saw how it looked when fighting broke out?
No, we were like, it's amazing to think that there's one more stack.
Right. Where we came in. And so on the footprint, everything's set fireplace.
So these bricks, as well as the foundation of the island, was built by slaves. "10-inch mortar model 1819. This 10-inch mortar was unearthed during the excavation, in 1959. Is similar to one which fired the single shot from Fort Johnson on April 12, 1861. Later in the war, Confederate defenders of Fort Sumter mounted several of these weapons near the spot as added defenses against anticipated assaults of the Union Army and Navy. Range 2,225 yards. So I made it back on the boat, good to go. I just made sure I set my alarm on my phone so that it's a few minutes early before departure, because the boat will leave, and you'll have to wait until another boat comes. And obviously, my guess is, you know, God help you if you are on the last one in the evening and you're late. Okay guys, as always, thank you so much for watching Jesco here on YouTube. Don't forget I have another YouTube channel where I do affordable watch reviews for those of you who are into watches or timepieces. It's called Atlantic Ocean Watch. I'll leave a link to that in the video description. But before you go over to Atlantic Ocean Watch, please hit the like button, please comment, and please subscribe. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a greater appreciation for our constitutional republic. Thank you for watching Jesco here on YouTube.